This is one of the more impressive releases of 2024, and this is going to be the Sora V2. It's quite the upgrade from their first, and here's why. First off, the unboxing experience. It's a gorgeous piece of packaging with this violet blue color and the white for some accenting. We have a pull tab on the side revealing a box that kind of resembles a smartphone package. Then it slides out just like a smartphone to reveal the mouse covered in a thin plastic sleeve. Take a look at this beauty. Honestly, it's just so clean. Underneath, we have more accessories. A cable, a manual, stickers, and also 2 sets of dyed skates. Reason being, the mouse doesn't come with the skates attached, so it does give you the freedom to add or do whatever you feel like you want to, just like I did. I love that, but also I've seen quite a few people new to the scene and just ordering this mouse wondering what these weird plastic stickers are that come in the package. And then they get confused as to why their mice aren't gliding properly. I really do appreciate the freedom of adding our own skates, but for the future it probably would be better to either have the instructions showing what to do with them or just have them pre-applied. But even so, I haven't touched the stock skates. Besides the fact I prefer 100% PTFE or hardened PTFE, dots are just my go-to thing. And for the weight nerds out there, it saves me like a gram of extra weight. But I obviously want to get into the shape itself. I never had interest in owning a Sora V1 nor the 4K, but I've only heard a lot of good things from others in this space and just decided to 3D print one so I can just have a good comparison. And oh damn, is it a night and day difference. Putting these side to side, you can see the Sora V2 has lower clicks whilst also having more curvature with its finger grooves, whereas the Sora V1 is a tad bit taller and also super flat on its clicks. Speaking of clicks, the Sora V2 makes use of the newer Omron optical switches, which a lot of people are fans of. It's very snappy. They're a bit on the heavier side, but also suffer a bit from post-travel. The pre-travel is less, but it's still there. With that combined, it creates the feeling of a slower spam session. The sound is pingy, but that can be very satisfying or off-putting for some. And to me, it kind of grew on me eventually. Continuing on with the clicks, we do have the side buttons, which are just like the main clicks. It's a nice amount of snap, but a tad heavier, but also the weirdest thing to me is that the 2 clicks sound and feel like completely different switches. The front is heavy and snappy with a snappy sound, whereas the back one is clacky and heavy. But also a small concern I have is if you were to press the back side button in too deep, it has the potential of mushing into the shell. The size and the position of the side buttons are really good, especially considering the shape is more so made for claw gripping. They're positioned right in front of where the hump reaches its peak. And speaking of hump, it sits in a great spot for claw. A bit further back from the center, just so it can support and fill the base of your palm, or if you have smaller hands, it can even fill up the palm itself. But the sides are a bit more aggressively slanted. In this case, comparing it to what I experienced on the NP01S, this is still enjoyable. But I can see why some really enjoyed the sides of the original V1 Sora that weren't as aggressive and could potentially have a bigger adjusting period if they enjoyed the V1 a lot. Moving on, the scroll is okay. Not great, but okay. Each scroll is very soft and not as tactile, so it's kind of a lazy feedback with each step. On the other hand, the middle mouse button is very nice. It's heavy, but not as heavy as the Vaxi ones by a fair margin. The mouse build is a bit more unique. So instead of us just having a regular plastic, they've opted for polycarbonate, a material mainly used in making bulletproof glass. So that means we have a mouse that's thin, lightweight, and also insanely strong. On top of that, they also have a really nice feeling coating. It's smooth, but definitely doesn't lack grip for me who has a bit more sweaty hands. Lastly is the internals. Like most mice now, we do have the 3395 sensor and a Nordic MCU. Sweet. But the performance is on the more lacking side. Before the initial release, there were some misunderstandings and a lot of us thought that the dongle that was included will act as a 4K/8K receiver. It wasn't the case. But they've recently kind of just backpedaled and said they will be updating the dongles soon-ish to reach higher polling rates. But even so, on the current cap at 1K Hz and overall performance, the mouse isn't bad, but it's also just okay. By measuring the click latency, we can see a metric of over 2 milliseconds compared to the first G Pro X at 1.1 milliseconds. But also it is very inconsistent with also how weirdly high the standard deviation is. On different test runs, I found values ranging from mid-40s to 50s. But when we don't have the inconsistent sessions, it's solid, getting average readings around 1.4 milliseconds, but then also hitting even higher latencies above 2.1 milliseconds. So I feel like they should just focus on stabilizing the current latencies and have a little pause on pushing out the higher polling rate firmware. It isn't something really to fuss about, because you don't really feel them necessarily, but for me it's always about bringing these things to light and also having the attention placed on them specifically. Overall, the mouse is really good. It's insane weight, a massive improvement over the original, making it one of the better claw shapes out there for majority of users, a solid price, 8K Hz soon, accessories, and a very nice overall aesthetic experience. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and thanks to Ninjutsu for sending out the V2. Much love, take care, and peace.